Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the top 10 weirdest, most obscure, hardest to find pieces of gear in my personal climbing gear collection. So, number 10 is the frog. This is made by Kong. It's pretty much specifically for clipping bolts. You can use it as a quick draw. You can also use it as a makeshift stick clip. And what makes it cool is by pinching these two little things right here, that's how you open it up. And then I'll just use a carabiner as an example here. You can clip it to something just by pushing it into the thing you're trying to clip it to, just like that. And then you're clipped in, and it's really hard for it to come undone naturally. You really need opposable thumbs to get it open. It's simple for a hand to get it open, but for anything else to make it open, if you just do one side, it's not going to happen. So that's what makes this thing really cool. It's kind of expensive for a quick draw. These are going to be a lot more expensive than just two carabiners. But I like it, and if you think of it as a quick draw that you can also use as a stick clip, because you can just tape a regular old stick that you find lying around to this and then push it into the lowest bolt, then it's a money saver at that point because you don't have to buy a stick clip. So I used this as my makeshift stick clip for a long time, but then I finally bought a stick clip. But this is number 10 on the list because it's not really that obscure. Sometimes you do see them in the wild, and you can still get them. They still make them. They don't make them in red anymore, I don't think, but those still exist. Next up, we have the DMM revolver. This is a carabiner that has a built-in pulley. And where I like to use this is I like to clip it on the first bolt because you've got the kind of the most extreme angle from your belayer to the start of the climb there, and so I'm trying to reduce friction as much as I can, and this pulley helps with that. These are still made. DMM still makes several versions of these actually, and the reason they're on this list is because I just don't see them that much in the wild, but they're useful, and that's number 9. All right, number 8 is the Trango Big Bro. They still make these as well, but they are pretty obscure. You don't see people using them that much. The way they work is it's got this release button here. You put it in a crack that's hopefully a little bit bigger than it is. You hit the button and it'll expand like that. And it'll expand to fill the crack. And then in order to keep it there, you use this collar to lock it into place. And then it can't get small again. And then you can clip to it and you'll be all set. So that's some sort of, I guess we call it active protection because it's got a spring-loaded mechanism. But once again, you don't see these much in the wild. They do still make them though. So I'd recommend getting one if you use, if you want to have something to protect a big crack and you don't want it to take a lot of room in your pack. Let's say you don't climb big cracks very often, and so you need something to get you through just in case. But if you're going to be climbing big cracks a lot, you're probably going to want to go with a big cam. This is number, what are we up to? 7? Let's see. 10, 9, 8. Yeah, this is 7. This is number 7 on the list. It's called a ball nut. This is kind of the opposite of a big bro. It's an obscure piece of gear for tiny little cracks. So it's kind of like a cam and a nut had a baby. It goes into a very small crack, and then this ball mechanism here is just spring-loaded, makes it expand just enough to get stuck in there. So this is also made by Trango. I think there's another company that also makes these. These you don't see much in the wild, but they do still make them, and a lot of people do use them, so they're not that crazy obscure. But we are getting down the line here, so we're starting to get even more obscure. Next up is the Metolius Supercam. Uh, what makes this really obscure is the asymmetrical lobes. You don't see these getting used very much in the wild, but it works just like any other cam, except the asymmetrical lobes give it a wider placement range. Unfortunately, it's not that much wider than a normal cam. So if you compare this to a cam with twin axles, you're going to find the placement range is pretty similar. So when it came to like, how do we get cams to have a bit more range? You know, there was the twin axle design, and then Metolius came up with this design, and the twin axle design won hands down. They do still make these, however. Typically, like I compared these to twin axle cams, and I found that these, for the same range, are going to weigh a bit more. So a lot of people, I think, don't buy them. One, because they're really obscure, and two, because when you compare weight versus range, the twin axle cam wins. So I got it though because I thought it was cool. Next up, now from here on out, we are, let's see, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We are on 5. We're halfway down. So the top half of the list is gear you can still get that's pretty obscure. For the last 5, these are pieces of gear that you can't get anymore unless you're buying them used. They do not make these. So this one is a quick draw, and it's made by Mad Rock, and I forget what they called it. But what's interesting about it is they made this cam specifically, not this cam, they made this carabiner specifically to make it as easy to clip as possible and as hard as possible for it to come unclipped when you're using it. So they added this little fin on here so that if the rope is falling and trying to get unclipped from it like that, it'll get deflected away by this fin. Which I think is a good idea. I think that the fin helps, and I've never had one of these come unclipped. I can't think of a time I've ever had any of my quick draws come unclipped, to be honest. But yeah, they don't make these. I think they just looked too weird and nobody bought them. So that's what happens when nobody buys it. They stop making it. Next up, we got another quick draw. This is number 6. 5? I lost count. I got them all lined up here. I should have labeled them. Anyway, so this is a quick draw where, you know, people were saying, let's compare it to a normal quick draw, a semi-normal quick draw. So if you've got your rope going through, do you want the carabiner laying like this, or do you want it laying like this as the rope goes through? There is a proper orientation, but somebody said both of these have issues. What we really want is the carabiner laying like this when it's clipped in. And so somebody decided that this was the way to go, and they added this sling mechanism that allowed the clipping carabiner to sit horizontally against the wall once you've clipped it in. And that's supposed to help prevent back clipping. Does it work? Does it prevent back clipping? It's hard to say. I've used this. I've never had it come undone, but I've never had any of my carabiners come undone randomly. It does happen, but I don't know if this helps or not. But I thought it was cool, so I bought it, and they don't make it anymore, but it still works, and it, I think, is fine. And it's kind of nice because it's like you don't really have to worry about if you're clipping it in to the left or to the right, because either way, it's basically the same. All right, next up, we're down to number 3 on the list. This is a cam called the Link Cam, made by Omega Pacific. And like everything on this side of the list, they don't make it anymore. What was cool about this is the lobes are separated into 3 sections that allow them to expand and contract much more than a normal lobe. Like a normal cam will go to there. Like that's how much range you get out of a normal cam. This one, boom, boom, and it just keeps getting smaller. So this was another way to extend the range of a typical cam. And they made these for a long time, and I think they were relatively successful. But in the end of the day, they probably just didn't sell enough of them to keep the line producing them. And there were concerns that this was just over-engineered with all these different connection points. There's just so many opportunities to have something fail. So they don't make these anymore, but I've used this a lot. I actually love this cam when I'm in a situation where I don't want to have to guess about the size. If I just need to get something in right now and I don't want to fumble around and figure out what size it's going to be, I just grab this, and it actually covers about 3 different sizes of cam, like all the way down from like a gray black diamond through a purple. Well, more like purple to green to red will all get covered by this cam. So that's kind of awesome. Obviously, the 2 big drawbacks is it's going to weigh more. It's, the increased complexity could lead to higher failure rates, and it was more expensive than other cams. But if you can find one of those these days, I would grab it because I think it's a great cam and it's always worked for me. The next one is a carabiner. This is made by, I think, Stube, and it was called the 3D because it's bent. This carabiner has a big old bend in it. It looks like it got mangled somehow, but they actually designed it like this. It came like this on purpose. And the point of having that bend in there was 2 things. One, it gave you greater gate clearance because when you open the cam, the gate doesn't run into the back of it right away, so that gives you more room. So like if it wasn't bent, you could get that much, and with it bent, you get that much. Oh, so much better. Also, the bend, if it's lying flat against the ground, and say your rope's going through it, there's a much lower chance that the rope's going to get pinched because that bend keeps the carabiner off of the rope. It gives it a place to go through. So Stube thought a bent carabiner would be a good idea. And so they made a bunch of them and sold them. And I bought one. And they don't make them anymore because it turns out not the best idea. All right, we started this list with the Kong frog. And they still make it, and it's awesome. We're ending this list, number 1, most obscure, weirdest piece of gear, with another thing made by Kong, the Gypsy. And this is a device for protecting large cracks. It opens up just like that, and you stick it in a crack, kind of like that. It's got a pin to hold it in place, to hold it open, but once you push on it a little bit, that pin will pop out, and then it'll want to close. It's spring-loaded, and so it's trying to close, and what happens is when you load it, you clip in here, and it pulls on this, and that pulls it closed. So the more weight you put on it, the more it tries to close up. So if it's in a crack like this, and you're pulling on it, it's gonna try to close, and it can't because hopefully there's rocks there. So this was a interesting piece of gear. Why don't they make it anymore? Well, probably because nobody bought it. But the biggest issues I've had with it, I've used it quite a bit, and the biggest issues I've had is it's really hard to place. You have to take it off your harness. You have to like push it against your leg or something to open it up and push the pin down, right? Then you put it in and set it, and it's got 6 different places where it's contacting the rock. You've got 2 here, 2 here, and 2 more here, and you want all of those 6 places to be in contact with the rock. And if you don't have a perfectly symmetrical crack, you're going to have some parts of it that are like floating, not on the rock, which is going to kind of freak you out. It freaks me out anyway. So it is a little bit lighter than a cam of the same size, but it's not super light. But for me, I think the difficulty in placing it is what makes it a less viable option than a large cam. But I think it's cool, and I'm glad I own it because I like cool and interesting obscure gear, and I like to use it. So those are my top 10 most obscure pieces of climbing gear. And here they are one more time, just so you can see. We've got the frog, the revolver, Trango Big Bro, ball nut, Matolia Super Cam, a couple of obscure quick draws, the Link Cam, the 3D carabiner, and the Kong Gypsy. So if you can find those pieces of gear out in the wild, then I don't know, maybe start a bingo card or something. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. See you later.